Hello my lovelies, my name is Mickey Dragon and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's nice to have you here. It is the second day of Love Week and we are going to be playing a game called TOUCHSTARVED. Honestly kind of excited. I gotta look at some of the characters and they do be looking pretty fine, so we're in for a treat. We are in for a treat. I'm vibing to this music already. I'm excited. This is a demo of TOUCHSTARVED prologue and now the finished product. Thank you. Cool! I'm down to play a demo. That's cool. Content warning. Horror, graphic violence, strong language, alcohol, drug references, injury, and dismemberment. Alrighty. I accept the content warning. Do you accept the content warning? Alrighty. Since we've all consented, we're good. In TOUCHSTARVED, your choices matter. Decisions you make result in unique dialogue, interactions, and even choices in red text, which contain exclusive content. Try playing through the demo more than once and choosing different options. You might even uncover a secret ending. And remember, there are no wrong choices, only interesting ones. Choose wisely and save often. My name? Oh, okay. We'll go she, her for this. The world began to unravel long before you were born. It began with fogfall. Spectral mist bled from the seams where reality wore so thin it split. And from that fog emerged monsters, inhuman beings with unnatural powers. Some possessed language and intellect. Others were mindless beasts driven by little more than the desire to slaughter. As cities fell and unrest spread, humans united in their fear while monsters thrived in the chaos. And then there's you. You're not even sure if you're human. You were born cursed, with hands that alter the minds of anyone you touch. Choose your backstory. Okay. Ooh, this is difficult. All of these are awesome. And since I don't know how long said demo is, I don't know how many I can get through. But if anything, after Love Week, I can always come back to this and then finish out the other two choices, because honestly, I'm already hooked. I think the Hound is kind of pulling at me, so I'm gonna choose the Hound. Confirm. Your name is Mickey. You selected she, her pronouns. Your backstory is the Hound. Is this correct? Indeed it is. Oh, that's gorgeous. The wasteland stretches as far as the eye can see. Nothing out here but death, the ever-present stench of decay, and countless sun-bleached bones cast like seeds across the barren land. I could say death doesn't scare me, but to tell the truth, I'm desperate. It's been 2 weeks since I joined a caravan bound across the wastes. Finding a group that would accept me was a trial in itself. As rations grew sparse, my canteen ran dry. I began to despair. Then I saw it. Ooh, that's pretty. Iridia, the city of knowledge. One of the last bastions of humanity left in the world, and home to the famous academy called Cenobium. All the world's knowledge gathered in one place. If there's anywhere where I'll find a cure for my curse, it's there. All that stands between me and a cure is a final stretch of salt-soaked wastes. Or so I think until I see the first tendrils of fog snaking beneath the wagon. Oof. Is this fogfall? My stomach sinks at the very whisper of it. A silent storm more devastating than fire. Dangerous in cities, but a death sentence beyond them. A thick blanket of fog engulfs us, smothering out the lantern's light. The wagon lurches to a stop. An eerie silence, heavy as the mist falls over us. The only warning we get is a strangled scream. Stay back! No! The cry dissolves into wet gurgling. And then the wagon violently pitches to the side. I hit the ground hard. The air punched from my lungs. When I opened my eyes, adrenaline lends suddenly. Awful clarity to carnage around me. A trader I once shared bread with lies face down in the mud, their back reduced to long strings of torn muscle, gleaming gristle and exposed bone. Bodies litter the wasteland. What is that? I try to rise, but my ankle explodes with pain so blinding, white blooms across my vision. Only when my eyes adjust do I see the dark shape in front of me. Hello? A soulless stoops over at the twisted form of a caravaner. I freeze, but it swivels its head. A dozen bulging eyes twitch in my direction and blink as one. The sound design on this, jeez. The soulless lets an ear-splitting shriek and runs at me. But right before it reaches me, the beast barrels past, vanishing into the mist. Distantly, a horse screams in the dark. I need to move now. What's this? Head towards the wagon. I take cover beside the wagon, where the air is thick with greasy smoke. Fire eats through the gaping hull, splattering where lantern oil mixes with brackish water. Every person I see is dead or dying, except one. Oh, All-Mother, forgive our sins. All-Mother? Hey. Guide us unto your hearth. We are worthy. We are worthy. A traveler grovels by the flames, their hands clasped above their head in fervent prayer. I glance upwards towards the gauzy lights of Iridia, just visible where the fog runs thinnest. I don't pray, but the sight of the city is all the reminder I need. I came too far to die here. Rapid footsteps echo all around me. I turn in circles frantically, searching the opaque mist for the source. But the fogfall twists and stretches sound. Suddenly the caravaner driver bursts forth from the fog. Our eyes meet too late. He slams into me, knocking me to the ground, and slips in a patch of mud. The soulless falls on him as soon as he slows. It catches the driver by his throat and rakes his stomach with razor-sharp claws. He comes apart like wet paper, spilling intestines and viscera in streaming tide. Fighting the urge to heave, I claw frantically through the slippery muck for a handhold. Shit! My hand catches a jagged edge of a rib jutting from the water. Bandages unfurl around gouge torn deep into my palm. The pain's quickly forgotten when the hand closes around my wrist. Ayo, hello? Can you stand? The praying traveler leans over me. We need to run. They reach for my hand, and suddenly I realize it's too late, that my bandages have come undone. No! Don't touch me! The sensation of their thumb brushing the back of my hand sends a shiver down my spine. All it takes is one touch, and in the space of a breath, my curse takes hold. Their lips peel back into a deranged grin. No, I've seen this face countless times before. This is my curse. Madness of my own making. Their grip on my hand tightens until pain radiates from my knuckles. Let me go! Suddenly, my clammy hands crush my throat, choking off my breath. Die, 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 die. Spit bubbles at the corners of their mouth and flex my face. The edges of my vision darken as my lungs scream for air. Well, obviously I can't scream, so I'ma fight 'em. My nails gouge deep into the traveler's wrist, but no matter how much blood I draw, they don't flinch. The more I struggle, the tighter their grip grows. My pulse hammers in my ears, slowing with each thudding beat. This can't be happening. I'm gonna die. And not because of the fogfall or the soulless, but because of my own curse. Tears sting my eyes. Hi, Percy. No, not here. Not like this. The hands drop from my neck, leaving me wheezing for air. My lungs burn with each ragged cough. My vision clears and the traveler's face takes shape, hovering inches from mine, lips still split into a macabre smile, even as blood seeps in between their teeth. They give one last shuddering breath and slump over the claws, hooked through their stomach. The soulless shoves the body aside, and the glowing eyes studying its leathery skin, thin as though grinning. There's a flash of claws, red spills across my vision. I thought there'd be pain, but as I sink into the murky water, all I can feel is the grit of silt filling my mouth and the icy embrace of the shallow water. Distantly, I notice an arm resting among the outcrop of reeds, mine, neatly severed at the elbow. But it should have taken both arms. Without them, maybe I could have survived. Maybe I could have had a home. But instead, I'll die cold, alone, and face down in a desolate wasteland. A fitting end for a monstrosity like me. If this is death, it's not as bad as I feared. The cold is gone, as if the choking stench of bog water. I could drift forever, cocooned in oblivion, until all thought and sensation vanished. No curse, nobody howling at me in madness and terror. Nothing at all. The thought has a terrible appeal to it. But the next moment I take a reflexive breath, air pours into my lungs, and I reach out in a ragged gasp. Feeling comes flooding back, warm cloth on my bare skin, a firm surface underneath me, a strange tang of sulfur in the air. Do not be afraid. He may be blurry, but he's cute. I twist my head towards the voice. Tears flood my blurry vision at the bright glow of a lamplight. Try not to move. The voice is calm, steady, and commanding. But more importantly, it's a stranger's voice. One thought cuts through my mental fog. I have no idea who this is, and I'm completely at their mercy. Stay away from me. My words come out in a little more of a creaky whisper. I clamp my mouth shut, hating how weak and helpless I sound. No. No? The hell is this? Sit up. I manage to push myself up on one elbow, but my head swims. My surroundings give an alarming lurch. Ah, a stubborn patient. I don't have the strength to dignify that with a response. Instead, I pull the sheet up higher and wipe my eyes until my vision clears. He's really cute. The stranger towers over my prone form, warm light reflecting off his pristine medical coat. I instinctively shrink back, and that's when I notice that I'm completely naked except for a thin linen sheet. Naked, laying on a low cot, with a pair of sharp golden eyes watching my every move. The man's gaze flickers to my exposed, unbandaged hands. I plunge my hands under the sheet to hide them from sight. Though it's too late, he must have noticed what they look like. Strange, cursed, inhuman. I braced myself for his inevitable suspicion and disgust, but his expression doesn't even flicker from that of a courteous smile. He just watches in placid silence as I struggle to make sense of my surroundings. Where am I? Who are you? Be calm. You're safe here. Whoever this is, he clearly has no idea who or what I am. I've never been safe anywhere, with anyone. The only people I've ever trusted betrayed me with a fat purse of coin. I scowl, pulling the sheet protectively around myself. Where are my clothes? The man's golden eyes narrow slightly. A sharp sigh wrestles the papers in his hands. I see that you are not to be dissuaded. Your clothes were torn to shreds when I found you, and I procured replacements. With a soft creak, he stands from his chair, giving me a better view of my surroundings. I seem to be in some sort of medical clinic. Bottles of silvery alchemical concoctions line the counters in neat rows. The air makes my nose twitch, a faint whiff of smoke and something distinctly metallic that I can't quite place. He's so cute. The doctor produces a large, dense bundle of cloth, which he sets at the foot of my cot. He's easily a head taller than most, and I have to crane my neck to look at him. Thank you. I should be polite if I can, especially since I don't know who this is, what he can do, or what he wants with me. Thank you. He's even better from behind. You're welcome. I will leave you to get dressed. With a curt nod, he leaves through a narrow door. I hear a soft click as the lock turns behind him. I count to 3 in the sudden silence. When I don't hear any more footsteps, I reach for the bundle of clothes. An itch on my elbow stops me short. I reach down absently to rub at it, then freeze when my fingers meet a neat line of stitches. I know what I saw. That beast took my arm clean off. And yet my arm shows no sign of injury apart from the black stitches poking through my skin. I gingerly flex my fingers, feeling my heart race at the sensation. This is impossible. I should be dead. Or at the very least, gasping out my last breaths. I squeeze my eyes shut, waiting for the pleasant dream to unravel, to wake up bleeding out in the swamp. But nothing happens. The seconds tick by, and my arm remains resolutely healed, my surroundings pristine and quiet. In numb disbelief, I reach for the replacement clothes and begin stiffly putting them on. They're thicker and warmer than mine were, with a black woolen cloak to go with them. But there's one thing still missing: my bandages. The golden-eyed man didn't leave me with any, even though I know he saw my hands. I slide off the bed and take a few unsteady steps towards one of the drawers. If this is indeed a doctor's clinic, there must be bandages somewhere. I start opening drawers at random, and of course, that's when the door swings open once more. Are you looking for something? I whirl around, clutching the thick roll of clean bandages. I try to step back from him, but my legs bump against the edge of the cot. Your caution is understandable, though if I meant you any harm, you would know. That doesn't make me feel better in the slightest, but he makes no move towards me, so I quickly wind the bandages around my hands. The glowing scars and molted skin disappear under a layer of clean white cotton. May I ask why you need additional bandages? I clench my jaw. I knew it would only be a matter of time before he asked about my hands, so the way he does it is strangely roundabout. Say nothing. There's no answer I can give without raising unwelcome suspicion, so I just shake my head and finish tying the bandages in silence. I can only help if you tell me what ails you. An involuntary snort of laughter escapes me. Where would I even begin? Would he even believe me if I told him? No. Best to keep my curse to myself for now, and learn more about him first. Who are you? You may call me Curris. She kinda cute. And where exactly am I? Iridia, which I assume was your caravan's destination. I can think of nowhere else for a group of travelers to go. Iridia. So I made it to the City of Knowledge after all. I should feel relieved, but all I can manage is this vague sense of increasing unease. How did I end up here? I brought you to my clinic. Of course, you were the only survivor from the caravan, barely clinging to life. You needed immediate treatment, which you provided? Yes. He says it so simply, as if I'm a small child, and he's explaining basic addition to me. I frown and flex my fingers on the recently healed arm. Aside from being a bit stiff, it feels fine. Thoroughly attached to me. You're saying that you stitched my arm back on? Pardon? A soulless attacked the caravan. It ripped everyone to shreds. It tore my arm clean off. But when I woke up here, I trail off bewildered. I've never heard any magic that could heal a mortal wound like that. What kind of person could do such a thing? The doctor, Curris, pinches the bridge of his nose. He sits back down in his chair, quiet for a long time. I do not know where you came from, but Iridia is the city of knowledge and deadly secrets alike. Information is power, and it is most unwise to give or receive it freely. Since you have refused to divulge your secrets, I will not divulge mine. I don't even know your name. You are new to Iridia, so I will overlook the specific breach of etiquette. However, you should not expect others to extend the same courtesy. Do you understand? He looks pointedly at my freshly bandaged hands. Loath though I am to admit he has a point. I am a complete stranger to him, and if he tells the truth, he saved my life. I take a deep, steadying breath. This time when I speak, I sound a little bit more like myself. Mickey. My name's Mickey. It is a pleasure to meet you, Mickey. There's a little more warmth in his smile, his polite demeanor back in an instant. Thank you for saving me. I chance a smile in return. Even if he won't explain how he did the impossible, there's no doubt in my mind that I'd be dead if it weren't for him. Think nothing of it. I'm sure he's just being excessively courteous, but his words only raise more urgent questions. But I have to ask, why did you save me? You don't know me. The question seems to startle Curious. His eyes are gorgeous. Oh my god. I could hardly leave you to die in the wastes. Assisting those in need is the very essence of a doctor's duty. I've never met a doctor who handed out free clothes. My fingers find the edge of the cloak. There's a subtle but delicately embroidered pattern around the hem. I try not to think about what kind of price Curris might ask for such well-made clothes. No, I suppose not. Forgive my presumption. I rarely come across so fascinating a patient. I blink. What did he just say? I simply meant that few would cling to life so resolutely, or brave such a perilous journey to Iridia. I could not help being curious about you, Mickey. His voice dips into a soft murmur, and he abruptly looks away from me. You're pretty curious yourself. Am I? Well, I haven't forgotten about my arm. I wiggle my intact fingers at him. Clearly not. But you haven't asked me about any payment either. I require none from you. Travelers don't have an abundance of coin, and it would be unethical to leave you destitute in a strange place. I fall silent, unsure of what to say at that. Nobody would help a horror like me for free. There has to be some kind of catch or trick, right? A loud knock at the front door stops our conversation cold and spares me from having to say anything else. Duty calls. Unfortunately, you're not my only patient today. The knocking grows more insistent, and Curious lets out a tired sigh. Please wait your turn. Though he says it quietly, the clamor on the other side of the door abruptly stops. Do you need anything before you leave, Mickey? Oh. Between the soulless attack and my miraculous survival, I'd almost forgotten why I came to Iridia in the first place. I need directions to Cenobium. The Cenobium? The look on his face is downright chilling. He pauses, choosing his words with cold deliberation when he speaks again. Whatever you seek, it is very unlikely you will find it there. The Cenobium's gates open for precious few visitors. Even if they did, you would not like what you found inside. My heart sinks. Is he saying that I came all this way for nothing? risked my life and limb for nothing? No, that can't be. I've only just arrived, and Iridia is the largest city still standing. There has to be a cure for me here. Then if not the Cenobium, where would you suggest? Do you know anyone else in Iridia? I shake my head. Then I suggest a local guide. Head to the Wet Wick and ask for Leander. Excuse me, the what? Wet Wick. He sounds deeply unamused. Follow the postings advertising Leander's bloodhounds. They're difficult to miss. When you meet Leander, tell him I sent you. There isn't much to go on, but Curse points towards the client's back door. You'll be safe so long as you don't draw attention to yourself. That's easier said than done. I've always been a magnet for the worst sort of attention. If you require my assistance, you may return whenever you wish. Though he's smiling, there's a note of finality in his voice, resigned to my dismissal. I slip out the back door. I find myself standing in a narrow and rather gloomy alley. I pull the new cloak over my nose, stepping over the contents of a chamber pots that have been emptied onto the street. Something weighs heavily inside one of the cloak's pockets, my coin purse. Everything's still inside, every last coin I'd scrapped together for the journey to Iridia. It doesn't even look like it was opened. There were so few coins to begin with, they probably weren't worth stealing. I glanced back to the clinic's back door. Curse didn't take any payment. Didn't even ask for a future favor. But he also said that Iridia's secrets are power. Does he expect me to give up mine at some point? It's not exactly a comforting thought. Still, no matter why he did it, Curse gave me a second chance and a lead on where to find help. I better get going before he changes his mind. I squeeze out of the alley and into the crowded main street. The line outside Curse's clinic stretches down the road already. Two thin peddlers queue alongside weathered elders. If any place is desperate need of a free clinic, it's this one. The cobblestones are treacherously rough under my feet. Deep grooves worn between them by regular flooding and decades of hard use. I knew Iridia was a river city, but I didn't expect it to look eroded. The buildings are tired, dilapidated, all crammed together in narrow streets. A child darts by, clutching something greasy wrapped in paper. The smell of fried food drifts over me. My stomach gives a faint gurgle. This morning's catch, fried, hot and fresh. Not too many eyeballs today. That sounds disgusting. I'm starving. So I duck my head under the stall's grubby awning. A large fish leers up at me, its 3 bulging eyes still visible through the thick layer of crispy batter. The vendor gives me a gap-toothed grin. What's the cheapest thing you've got? The vendor points to a metal basket of what looks like long strips of savory fried dough. Fresh long, lads, 3 copper apiece. Don't burn your mouth. I take the coins out and counting them gingerly. At this rate, I might not be able to afford dinner. Reluctantly, I drop the payment on the counter and take my meal. Ooh, that's pretty. 2 streets later, I pass under a wrought iron archway adorned with dangling garland of red and pink lilies. The buildings in this quarter are a dizzying riot of color, painted walls and tinted glass everywhere I look. Sheer red and pink curtains flutter in open doorways, musical voices calling out invitingly. Incense mingles with the pungent scent of flowers, barely covering the salt and musk of warm bodies. This must be the Iridia Entertainment District. I'm polishing off my food and dusting the crumbs from my hands when I spot a poster. It features the silhouette of a smiling man wearing a single dagger-like earring, the word Bloodhounds printed above his head, a motto, As above, so below circles the artwork. If Leander is the leader of the Bloodhounds, then the face printed on the poster is likely his. I followed the line of identical posters around a corner and nearly hit my head on a precarious, dangling wooden sign. Looking up, the faded orange letters read, "The Wet Wick." The facade of the building looks like it's seen better days, but I hear faint music and laughter coming from inside. The artwork is gorgeous in this. The inside of the bar is a far cry from the abandoned exterior. It's not even midday yet. Most of the tables and booths are occupied by a loose assembly of people in matching green cloaks. There's a lot you can tell about a city by its dives. One seems ordinary enough, even if the uniforms are unusual. A cursory glance doesn't turn up at anyone with a dagger-shaped earring. I'm about to head towards the counter when a chant rises from the center of the room. "Shout! Shout! Shout!" The remaining green cloaks abandon the bar and their booths to rush towards the center of the room with such a sudden torrent. There's no time to move out of the way. I'm caught and swept along the ale-stenched current. Hey! The rhythmic chanting drowns out my voice. I thrash, throwing out my elbows as the press of bodies grows heavier. My hips knocks a table. I grip it, holding on tight to steady myself, but the crowd is stilled. The chanting stopped. A pair of gilded boots stride across the tabletop. Seriously, you dogs? Again? Scattered laughter and cheers rise from the audience. I drag my eyes upwards. Okay, he cute. I'm not gonna survive this week. You gotta get through this, Mickey. Okay. A well-dressed man stands on the table in front of me, his broad shoulders framed by the thick lapels of a trench coat. I can't look at his face. I can't read if I look at his face. This really is the last time, alright? This time when he speaks, the audience falls silent, as though bewitched by his magnetic presence or rich, low voice. He's a beast! But nothing is as captivating as a smile. He beams at the crowd around him, a performer on his makeshift stage. Don't blink or you'll miss it. He laughs and the dagger-shaped earring dangling from his left ear catches the light and a flash of gold. It would seem to be I found Leander. He raises his hand above the audience and snaps. A flash of pale green light, real magic, no ordinary stage trick, blinds me. Sorry, I'm looking at his arms. As the brilliance ebbs, my gaze refocuses on the mage towering above me. He flicks his wrist, and the magic spiraling around him coalesces. A delicate flower stem sprouts between his pinched fingers. One by one, glowing lily petals spring forth. With a flourish, the mage presents the conjured flowers. The audience bursts into clapping and cheers. A genuine magic show was the last thing I expected from a place called the Wet Wick. Leander plucks the iridescent bouquet out of the air and turns it into a slow circle, gave his audience a good look. Now, who could use some good luck? Eager onlookers scoot closer to the table. Some reach for the lilies while others whistle and call Leander's name, but his cool green eyes slide right over them, locking on me instead. How about you? My chest tightens. Every person gathered turns to stare at me. Take the flowers. I reach out, all too aware that the way my fingers tremble as I carefully take the flowers from him. There's no weight to them, only a faint warmth that radiates from the stems. As soon as the flowers leave Leander's hands, their light dims. They fade away into a shower of opalescent light. To my surprise, Leander laughs under his breath. That's the problem with flowers, they don't last long. But they leave an impression, right? He grins at me and I find myself smiling back. I'm sorry. Oh no. I'm not gonna be okay. Leander steps off the table, dropping among the excited crowd with an audible clink. Alright, bloodhounds. Get back to your drink, show's over. The green cloaks disperse at his command, returning to their tables and booths. Before I can make my way to Leander, his eyes find me. He gives me a friendly wave and beckons me over to the crowded counter. I manage to squeeze behind him, but there's so little room that his broad shoulders press against mine. I tense but he doesn't seem to mind at all. Don't look at me like that! Is this your first time in Iridia? He says it lightly, with a genuine air of curiosity. Do I stick out that much? No. But I'm certain I'd remember a phrase as lovely as yours around Lowtown. Sir. My eyes flicker to the polished countertops. I'm not used to flattery, and being this close makes eye contact difficult. As if on cue, the bartender approaches us. What can I get you? Surprise me, and add anything my friend wants to my tab. I wasn't expecting the generosity, but I have to admit, I do feel a little thirsty after all that fried dough. Water's good. Water's fine. While the bartender leaves to fix our drinks, Leander leans his elbows on the counter. I'm close enough to notice the purple shadows under his lower lid. His eyes wander over me in return. But when they lock on my bandaged hands, a sour taste rises in my throat. Here comes the questions. So, what brings you to the Wick? Curris sent me. He pushes his hair back from his forehead and immediately falls right back into place. So it's about work. Bartender pushes the glasses away. I don't realize how thirsty I am until the cool water touches my lips. I drain the water in a single gulp. Leander takes a deep swig of his beer and lets out a satisfied breath. How can I be of assistance? I need to get to the cenobium. As soon as the word cenobium leaves my mouth, the entire bar falls silent. Bloodhounds twist around in their seats to gawk openly. Finally, an especially drunk one speaks up. The hell are you bringing up the cenobium in here? Throw him out. This is bloodhound territory. The vitriol catches me off guard from the angry looks thrown my way. It's clear I've broken some unspoken rule just by mentioning cenobium. When I glance at Leander, he's drinking, as though he hasn't noticed the uproar. Only when he catches me looking does he lower his glass. For the love of... He drags a hand down his face. Hey, keep it down, will you? This is business. I tense, expecting an argument, but the outspoken bloodhounds silently return to their drinks. Only a handful continue to watch me warily. Sorry about them. Cenobium's a bit of a touchy subject in these parts. Mix enough drinks, and, well, you saw. How about we continue this outside? When I give him a terse nod, he pushes away from the bar counter. I follow Leander to the alleyway tucked behind the wet wick where layers of frayed bloodhound posters have been plastered to the walls. God. Seeing them side by side, the resemblance between Leander and his likeness on the posters is impressive. Those arms and that belt. Curse did send you here for help with the Cenobian, did he? From the looks he gives me, he already knows the answer. I glance away. No, he didn't. He suggested I find an alternative. Yet here you are, asking about them anyway. What do you need the Cenobium for? I don't want to tell him about my curse. The less people know about my capabilities, the better. Thankfully, Leander takes my reluctant silence as an answer. Well, I see you're already aware of the city's currency. Information's worth its weight in gold here. Curse told you the truth. Cenobium's dangerous. Get on their bad side and they'll imprison you if you're lucky, or torture you if you're not. But the Cenobium's supposed to be the place of learning and a sanctuary. The Cenobium has always been the herald as the latest bastion of human knowledge, a shining beacon of hope in a world steeped in nightmares. If any place held answers, it would be the Cenobium. That's why I came here. That's what they want you to think. But things seem too good to be true, are often just that. Such a simple statement, and yet it leaves me reeling. If it's true, if I staked everything on a lie, then what now? Leander clears his throat. But as I always say, there's solutions to every problem, and alternatives to every solution. He claps his hands and turns to me with a brilliant smile. That's why Curse pointed you to the Bloodhounds. Let us help you. Whether it's hunting soulless, finding people, or recovering stolen valuables, we can do it all. And free of charge. I'm shaking my head before he's even finished his practice speech. My patience is wearing dangerously thin. Listen, I appreciate the offer, but my problem can't be solved with a group of good Samaritans. To my chagrin, Leander nods slowly. Then your problem must be fairly serious. And if the Cenobium's your first choice, you're searching for a magical solution, aren't you? Then my eyes widen. He nods along, as though he suspected all along. I'd be happy to help you out. That is, if you tell me what ails you. Leander might not work for the Cenobium, but he is a mage. And a powerful one, at that, if his demonstration earlier is any indication. I'm silent, plagued by indecision. I don't know if I can trust him, but it's not like I have any alternatives. I hate to admit it, but this could be my only path forward. My confession comes out in a pained whisper. I'm cursed. Cursed? Oh, now I'm very curious. What kind of curse? Something ancestral or more recent? He looks at me up and down, taking in my face, my eyes, and finally my hands. It's your hands, isn't it? I wait until I'm certain my voice remains steady before answering. My touch is dangerous. It changes people, hurts them. Before I finish, Leander begins taking his gloves off. He tugs his left hand free and flexes his fingers. Let's see it. He offers his hand, and a prismatic flash of magic ripples across his palm, but I'm already shrinking backwards. I don't care how confident Leander is, I can't bring myself to hurt him, to see his kind face twist into a mask of madness. Believe me, this isn't an ordinary curse. I'll be fine. Perhaps where you came from, your affliction was strange and one of a kind. But spend a year in this city and you'll see 1,000 curses and thrice as many cures. Do you really think Curious would send you here if I couldn't handle it? How should I know? I only met him today. I'm as good as any mage in the Cenobium, better even. If they can help it, so can I. You don't know what you're asking me. I'm asking you to trust me. I look from Leander's outstretched hands to his confident smile, and then with a short breath, I begin unwinding my bandages from my hand. Fine, but if you lose control, don't say I didn't warn you. You can tie me up first if it makes you feel better. He's blushing! It might make me feel better. I'm fine. With each joint I expose, I grow more and more certain that this is a terrible idea. Ready when you are. If he's bothered by the way my hands look, he doesn't show it. My fingers hover shakily over his palm. 3, 2, 1. That's... I'm good. I'll trust him. I tap his palm once as quickly as possible. It's barely more than a brush, but that's all it ever takes. When I look at his face, expecting to see the worst, Leander only grins. See? It can't be. This time when I reach out and touch Leander's palms again, he catches my wrist before I pull away. I told you there's really nothing to worry about. He's so cute. He trails off when my thumb brushes the soft skin of his inner wrist. I search Leander's face for traces of madness, but his eyes remain clear, soft green. The color rises in his cheeks, and he remains still except for a subtle bobbing of his throat. Neither of us speak as I trace the contours of Leander's palm, lost in awareness I wasn't prepared for. I've been with other people, kissed them, been embraced by them, and more. But not like this. My fingers, long deprived by years of bandaging, pick up every single detail, the grooves of his palms, the smooth shell of his nails, the pulse of his heart. For as long as I've lived, I've never been able to hold someone's hand. Not without dire consequences. I never realized what I was missing until this moment. While Leander's pulse is steady, mine is hammering as fear gives way to excitement. Keep touching him. My hand glides over Leander's wrist and up his forearm where smooth skin abruptly gives way to the raised scar above the edge of his sleeve. It matches the one that runs up his collar to his cheekbone. Could it be the same wound? I glance to Leander's face, his lips part as he considers words before speaking. Am I the first person you've been able to touch like this? My hand goes still on his arm. So far. I'll admit your touch does make it somewhat difficult to stay level-headed, but not due to your power. He takes my hand. His soft green eyes flick to mine before he turns it to inspect the golden fissures crisscrossing my knuckles. Look, we match. He points to a gold pin on his coat collar. I give him a small smile. I draw my hand back and I take a steadying breath. My head feels as though it's stuffed with cotton. Habit alone guides me through the motions of rewrapping my hand, although my fingers tremble too much for the bandages to lie flat. I can't believe that worked. May I ask your name? I'm Mickey. You were right to hide this from me, Mickey. That curse of yours, it's unlike anything I've ever dealt with. I can tell you're discreet, but you'd best not go showing that off to anyone else. I didn't plan on it. Are you staying in Lowtown? I pause, ruined bored with something I hadn't yet considered. I don't know. Let's get you properly settled then. Leander, I'm gonna faint. Wetwick is noticeably quieter. Without their leader, most of the bloodhounds have dispersed, and in a few cases fallen asleep beside their drinks. Got any rooms left, or did my lot grab them all to sleep it off? Bartender, who now realized doubles as an innkeeper, slides a key onto the counter. You know I always keep the corner room open for your escapades. Leander's laugh sounds slightly strained. And I always appreciate it, but you're mistaken. This is just for my friend Mickey. Sure. Stay as long as you like. You two have fun. Escapades, huh? Leander clears his throat and holds the key out to me. But I hesitate. My coin purse barely holds enough for a day's worth of meals, let alone a room. How much do I owe you? Nothing. Bloodhound rates. My treat, since you've shared your secret. Food, drink, a warm bed, anything you need. Carefully, I take the key from him. It's small, but weighs heavy in my palm. I never expected to have a warm bed in Iridia, let alone free meals. I planned to steal whatever I needed to get by, no matter how dangerous. Thank you. Go explore, Mickey. You'll find many roads in Iridia, each leading to different answers. But if you need a reprieve from what haunts you, come find me. Just be careful. I nod, taking one last look at the gleaming bronze key before tucking it in my pocket of the cloak for safekeeping. Leander gives me one last friendly wave before I depart. Leander is so cute. The air clings, sodden and heavy. Without the morning crowd, the sunless streets look barren and bleak. Even the peddlers are long gone. Only a pair of crows remain quibbling over stale crusts in a gutter. I feel a ridiculous pang of envy. At least they've got a reason to fight. I've never felt more so lost. Chris and Leander both made it clear that the snowbound can't be trusted. But I came so far, endured so much. I need to see the cenobium for myself, if only to satisfy my curiosity. I should have asked someone at the bar for directions before leaving. I'm about to turn when a shadow passes over me. A cloud, I think. With the music that's playing right now, I don't think that's a cloud, sweetie. Until a puff of hot breath tickles the back of my neck. The shadow runs deep down the street in rivels. Formless black spreads like ink in the blotted shapes. Claws stretch. A muzzle splits open to reveal long, jagged teeth. The growl rumbles so low and deep I feel it. I want to run, scream, but I feel trapped. As though the slightest movement or a single breath will snap the jaws around me shut. No, I won't let it end like this. If I'm gonna die, I want to see what's got me first. I steel myself and then turn. The shadow vanishes quickly as it came. I'm left standing in the middle of the street, alone, except a figure reclining in the shade of a nearby stoop. Hello? So we've met 3 men. A monster. That much is clear from a glance. One that could nearly be mistaken for human were it not for the tufted ears, the tail that curled around his ankle, or the dusk pink eyes with the pupils that sharpen like needles when they fall on me. Our eyes meet and the monster uncrosses his long legs. His hair gleams a shade of red that reminds me of an unsettling blood when it curls around his collared throat. Jumpy, aren't you? His tone is light and carefree. That glance over my shoulder to make sure he's speaking to me. When I look back, the stranger props his chin on his knuckles and regards me with an inscrutable little smile. Didn't you see that shadow just now? It was massive, moved like a beast. Even as I speak, I'm aware of how ridiculous I must sound. But the stranger's smile doesn't falter. The only beast I've seen are the Wick's drooling regulars. Though, this did catch my eye. He stole my key! With a flourish of his hand, my in-room key appears dangling from his fingers. It turns on its chain, glittering when it catches the light. I need to focus, but my hands fly to my close pockets, and sure enough, find them flat. He crooks his finger, beckoning. I've already taken 2 steps forward before some stifled instinct stops me. Something feels wrong. I'm still on the edge, thrumming with so much adrenaline that the stranger's shadow flickers at the edge of my vision. I always attract the worst kind of attention, but I can't get rattled now. Who said that's my key? You said that key's mine. He smiles wide enough to reveal 2 pointed canines. I saw you drop it. You really should be more careful. A city like this, somebody might take advantage. A bald-faced lie said without a hint of irony. I can't figure out how he picked my pocket under my nose, but I'm certain he took my key and I need it back. I approach the man, careful to keep at arm's length away. He doesn't look dangerous, but the most deadly ones never do. The stranger's chain softly clinks with the tilt of his head. His ears flick. Keeping your distance? Until I figure out how you've managed to rob me. Yeah, I am. You think I stole your dainty little key all the way from over here? He gives an exaggerated sigh. I'm good with my hands, but not that good. Do I really look like a common thief to you? He's got me there. The sheer fabric of his sleeves alone would be too expensive for most streets thieves. Hell, his shoes look like they would cost more than I spent traveling here. And then there's the shop behind me. No matter the city, parted pink curtains only mean one thing. I'm not looking to buy, and I doubt I could afford your services anyway. Luckily for you, I don't charge. The man runs the tip of his tongue over a fang, and for the first time since I stepped into the shadow, I felt something other than dread. My face grows hot. That's not what I meant. I'm flattered, really. Were sex my trade, I might make an exception for you. How about half off for a handy? Or you could hand over my key. Ask nicely and I may even let you tug my tail. Just throw it over here. So some spindy little street urchin can snatch it and run? He raised my key and tilted his head so he can watch it dangle back and forth. I suppose I could just claim your room for myself. Not that I'd be caught dead slumming at the Wick for the rest of those slack-jawed imbeciles. You're obviously not from around here, so tell me, traveler, what misfortune brought you to this wretched place? His voice practically drips with derision. I'm not telling you anything. What could have possibly drawn you to this little dreary pig pen, I wonder? He listlessly watches the arc of my keys swing around his finger. The weather's shit, the food's dreck, and there's entirely too many monsters for a human to feel safe, unless... Dagger-sharp eyes flick towards me. They gleam with amusement. Unless you're just dying to consort with monsters. Right now my embarrassment's worn away, leaving simmering impatience in its place. If this is a shakedown, it's the most frustrating one I've ever experienced. Flirt back! How'd you know that I spent all my money, starved and nearly died in a swamp just so I could crawl into bed with the first thirsty monster I saw? That earns a burst of breathy laughter. He gazes at me under his dark lashes. Aren't you funny? Could you be any more obvious? I have been told subtlety is not my strength. So you're a place from mine. I'd invite you if I had my key. Then I might be able to invite you up. His languid gaze glides from me to the key in his hands and back. Come take my hand and we'll go together. The more he flirts, the more I'm convinced I become that this is some kind of trap. No matter how innocent monsters look, they always have tricks up their sleeves. And something tells me that this one's more dangerous than he lets on, even if he has a lovely laugh. I don't know what you want or why you're messing with me, but I'm not coming any closer until I know you're not going to attack or bite. I won't bite hard unless you beg me. No matter what I say, he finds a way to twist my words into an innuendo. Even when I'm silent, he goes on as though we're having a conversation, not a standoff. Do you like dancing? There's a traveling troupe performing in the high town tonight. Their ludus is utterly exquisite. Truly a performance to die for. There's life in this dreadful place, if you know where to look. You sound as though you know the city well. Man's gaze flickers from me to the key dangling from his finger. Naturally, this dump was little more than a miserable little smear when I first arrived. High town, low town, I know Iridia like the back of my hand. What about the Cenobium? Do you know where that is? His smile vanishes. Surely you've seen it. That absurdly large tower looming over the rest. It's a little hard to miss. You must mean that spire I noticed when I first caught sight of Iridia. The Cenobium's overrated. Forget about it. I can show you things those stuffy bores with their limptic tower couldn't even dream of. I've already got plans. Oh? Have you some pressing matters at the Cenobium? Lunch dates with librarians, tea time with the most esteemed abbess? That's my business. What's the matter to you? I square my shoulders and the amusement bleeds out of him. Your loss. The stranger, finally bored of his tedious game, extends his hand towards me. The key rests on his palm, neatly dividing skin and leather. When he makes no other move, I reach for the key, but as soon as my fingers graze smooth brass, my hand springs shut around my elbow. Hey! Hey! He yanks me down and I stagger, my soul slipping on the steps. For a sick moment, I fear my bandages will unravel under his touch, but he's careful not to disturb them even as his fingers dig into my arm. I knew I smelled blood. You reek of death and the road. And that fucking doctor. What's the doctor got to do with you? That was red lore text. His voice, once silken, lowers to a smoky growl. The shadows around him seethe and boil as he pulls me closer. And something else. He murmurs against my throat. Nose grazing my jaw. Let go. I try to twist away, but he doesn't budge. His breath trails down my neck, sending a thrill of dread through me. But just when I fear he'll bite, he takes a deep whiff instead. His wide, flat eyes gleam with naked hunger as he gazes up at me. Not quite human, not quite monster. Seems we're both. Veer! The stranger's ears flatten, and he releases me with a short breath. I yank my arm back, massaging it where the grip left grooves from the bandages. The stranger twists around to watch the woman duck out from the curtain behind him. Her pressed uniform bears the insignias of the cenobium. I leave you for all of what, 10 minutes, and you're making trouble again? Will you quit harassing tourists? The stranger, Veer, I take it, rolls his eyes and flashes the cleric a withering smile. So suspicious. Can't you see that this is a friend of mine? A natural liar. He grins at me. His tail swishes minutely. The woman purses her lips at me, clearly unconvinced. I open my mouth to correct him, but Veer cuts in. I was graciously offering my friend some free advice. Though his voice remains light and cheerful, his expression darkens. Danger's drawn to you like moth to a flame. I'll always find you given time. The woman clucks her tongue as though she heard the recital 102 times. Word of advice? Don't take free advice from lazy foxes lounging in the streets. This crook would sell water to a drowning man for the sheer enjoyment of it. She shrugs. A wilting look from Veer. Oh, please. Any friend of yours knows it's true. Now hold still. Veer raises gracefully at her approach. He pushes his hair aside and drapes over one shoulder, exposing a long line of his neck. And suddenly, it dawns on me the jingling I heard earlier wasn't coming from the harness attached to his collar, but a leash. A heavy iron chain wound around the hitching post and padlocked to the back of his collar. Veer posed deliberately to hide his leash from me. The woman produces a key ring from her pocket. She rifles through dozens of identical keys before selecting one and slotting it into the lock. Come on, unless your friends tag you along for the mere soulless hunt. They're hunting for solace inside the city. Words momentarily fail me. The woman regards me with a polite, if tight, smile before marching down the stairs. Fear lingers. He stretches his arm over his head with a yawn. I try not to stare at the way his stomach flattens when he arches his back. Your little secret's safe with me. Try not to get yourself killed. Veer hops off the stoop and bounds after the woman. His tail sways merrily, as though if he didn't just lie and threaten me. Did you try that thing I mentioned? The Lenovian knot? The one where you take 3 fingers and actually don't tell me. Knowing you, it's disgusting. Veer's airy laugh echoes down the street. It's only after he and the cleric have vanished from sight I realized I'm still missing something. Wait! Reflexively, I shove my hands in the gate and find it. The room key. I ease the key from my pocket and smooth my thumb over its teeth as I try to recall a touch. A tell, or a hint of Veer's sleight of hand. But I can't figure out how he did it. All I know is for certain is that the cenobium saw fit to leash him. A fate I could share. If that's what his vague warning meant. I let my eyes drift skyward, let the lantern swaying in the breeze to the cenobium faintly visible through the haze. Just one glimpse is all I need, and then I can put this all behind me. This time, the key goes into my coin purse for safekeeping. It's easy enough to follow the sluggish river that splits Iridia in two. A colossal bridge arches over the dark water below. I cross as quickly as I can, climbing ever uphill towards the distant tower. Hours later, legs aching, sweat beading on my forehead, I finally find what I was searching for. The cenobium of the luminous void. That was red. That was lore. It stands at the highest point of Iridia, surrounded by cold, white walls. Well-dressed people stroll down the walkways, paying no attention to the massive tower in their midst. I'm the only one standing before its gates. I crane my neck up and up until the top of the cenobium tower disappears into the clouds overhead. I frown up at the gates, wondering what horrible traps they might contain. Despite their delicate beauty, there must be more to them, more than meets the eye. Knocking seems like a terrible idea, but I don't see any other way of making my presence known. I'm halfway up the stairs when something moves in my peripheral vision. A shadowy figure crouches beneath one of the white walls. They reach out and tug on a vine as if testing its strength. Oi! You there! The shadow vanishes as quickly as I spotted it. A gaunt-faced man in a crisp charcoal uniform marches towards me. Ugh, another tourist. Get out of here once you're done gawking. A dismissive wave accompanies his equally dismissive words, and he turns on his heel without even waiting for an answer from me. I look back to where I saw the intruder, but there's nothing. Just leaves blowing gently in a cool breeze. I step away from the gates, hopelessness washing over me. Hello? A whisper so close I could feel the warm brush of breath on my skin. I instinctively jerked away, but there's no one beside me. Halfway down the staircase, I spot a woman swaying in the breeze. She's gaunt as a rail, her blouse moth-eaten, and I'm unable to take my eyes off her. Not because of the way she smiles a little too widely, or the way her tousled braids look unbrushed for days, but because her eyes shine a vibrant, unnatural crimson. I'm both entranced and unsettled by their subtle glow. These days, you need a miracle to get in there. I'm unsure how to respond, or if I even should. Sarcastically. Seems like I'm in the market for a miracle no anyone's selling. She beams at me like I've said the greatest thing she's ever heard. Lucky for you. I have them for free. Whatever she's selling, I'm not interested. My words come out my mouth in a tired breath. No thanks. I start down the stairs and she abruptly steps in my path. She turns her back to me, but before I can react, she slips her fingers under the lacing of her collar, stripping out of her blouse in the broad daylight. What did you... The fabric unveils bare skin. My panic is smothered by cold horror. A misshapen, sunken scar carves into the woman's body. Pitted, gnarled skin snakes down her shoulders, blooming from a gaping hole in the back of her neck. A shuddering breath escapes me. The fuck? Whatever disease this woman had ate away from her from the inside out. How is she still able to move or breathe? It's impossible. She shouldn't be alive, and yet... The power to cure anything can be yours, too. The power of sea spring. The woman slides back into her blouse and deftly laces it up. If I've caught your interest, then follow me. It's only a short walk away. Without another glance, she leisurely strolls down the cenobium stairs, loose braids bobbing behind her. The edge of her scar peeks out from under her collar. I stand there wordless until I manage to regain my bearings. It's a twisted miracle, but a miracle nonetheless. This could be the stupidest decision of my life, but what choice do I have? I took a final look at Zenobia shut gates, and then I followed her down the steps. We descend from the higher streets, leaving behind their gilded decadence as we cross the river. The wet, derelict streets feel more familiar to me. But the crimson-eyed woman takes me further and further still until I'm met with an all too familiar sight. My gut lurches when I face the open horizon. The city's outskirts are hardly recognizable in the daylight, and probably safer for it. But venturing beyond Iridia's walls is a gamble I wasn't prepared to soon take. Keep going straight and the sea spring will reveal itself to you. I bark a bitter laugh, loud and involuntary. I'd rather not. Are you kidding? It's not safe out there. You're safe inside the city as out of it. Truthfully, the territory before you is the safest of all. What do you mean, territory? This region belongs to Aes. Most people know him as a gang leader, but he's much more than that. I squint against the empty wasteland. Only a fool or someone with nothing to lose would leave the city. Apparently I'm both. But if this sea spring cured her, I need to see what it can do for me. No, I don't. I can stay in the city. I don't have to be dumb. I set off into the waste. Over my shoulder, the woman calls after me. Good luck, Nikki. I hope we meet again. I don't remember telling her my name. Did I? I don't like this. My heart pounds with each step I take from civilization. For what it seems like an eternity, I force each foot forward, one step and then the other. Then the realization hits me. I never told the woman my name. I knew it! I knew it! Something pierces the horizon ahead of me. A building nestled into the tall cave side, but so starkly out of place it might as well have been a hallucination. It drips with this extravagance and honeyed mahogany, an ornate jewel of architecture. A row of dark silhouettes stand out on the horizon. Trees, I think, until I'm close enough to realize I mistook branches for spikes and jutting out tendrils. Soulless. Several of them watched me in the distance like statues. I don't think, I just run. Exploding into messy sprint, I push my legs as fast as they'll take me towards the decorated building. Flashes of last night chase me, the gushes of blood and screams of death, the smell of burning flesh and sour bile. I can't go through that again. I won't. The next thing I know, I'm dashing up wooden stairs and crashing through towering double doors. I gasp for air, my lungs burning from exertion. I'm desperate to be safe, but when I process my surroundings, it's more hellscape than sanctuary. Blood flows all around me, overwhelming my vision with a lurid, unholy red. Instinctively, my hands leap to my mouth, but the rotten stench of blood never comes. Instead, a smoky scent lingers in the air, sharp and spiced. I swallow thickly, convincing myself that it's not as gruesome as it appears. But this has to be Sea Spring, the place that grants miracles. Pulling my eyes away from the pool, I take in the rest of my environment. Tall pillars flank me, blanketed in written notes. Seating pillows scatter the floor. A rustic kettle sits nearby. Someone must live here, despite how eerily empty it is. Stay silent. I approach the paper-covered pillars. Maybe something here can tell me more. I reach for it. The closest one. I reach for a note in front of me. It reads, Dear Mother, don't cry for me. I'm sorry I didn't say goodbye, but we'll meet again in another life. I love you very much. From Iris. P.S. If you ever see me, never speak to me again. It's written in perfect cursive. I never seen such beautiful handwriting. But before I can ponder further, a sharp chill runs down my spine. Something's watching me. I quickly set the note back, my eyes darting around the wooden deck. It's still empty, vacant. Finally, I look towards the sea spring. The stillness hides something deeper, something wrong. Hey. I spin around and come face to face with a pack of soulless. They chitter and growl, tendrils and spikes flaring threateningly. They all different sizes and species, and all sharing identical trait, glowing crimson eyes. I try to step back, but my heels teeter on the sea spray. I'm cornered. Watch your step. It's deeper than it looks. That voice again. At the sound of it, the souls freeze, their snarls quieting. I search for the voice's source and find it above me, lounging in the rafters. You look lost, little sparrow. His gaze is a violent crimson, one that sears through me, leaves me all feeling raw and exposed. They're the same eyes I've seen over and over. First with the scarred woman, now with the soul encircling me, all bound by the sea springs of blood red. In the shroud of darkness behind him, shapes like massive tentacles twist and coil around the wooden beams. I can't focus. The soulless growls ring in my ears. They're not advancing, but they could change. But that could change at any second. Panic rises in my throat and I struggle to track them. Hey! Eyes on me. My stomach rolls as I tear my eyes away from the soulless. Don't ignore someone who's talking to you. It's not polite. For a moment, anger knocks my fear aside. Who is this bastard? I'm distracted. Kinda distracted by the soulless around, about to maul me. Only on my command. I scan the soulless again. They really aren't attacking. Posturing more than anything else. You tamed them. Bastard. Power of the sea spring. They're hungry, so they might bite. You could give me a reason to stop them. How about I didn't do anything wrong? Trespassing. And that's punishable by death? He gives a non-committal shrug. Expecting mercy was your first mistake. My voice stops in my throat. The man's terse coolness is both infuriating and terrifying. I rack my brain for a way to defuse the situation. Tell me what you want. I'm not in the mood for guessing games. Your hands. Alarms jolt through me. I hide my hands under my cloak. Show me. Why? Won't ask twice. With a sharp huff, I reluctantly hold out my bandaged hands. Are you getting off on this? Unwrap them. Heat rushes to my face and the fire to my tongue. I should give him a piece of my mind. But not when his soulless are one command from ripping me to shreds. Yet no matter how much I will myself to move, my body is frozen in place. I stand there for a long, agonizing minute. My hands are trembling when I finally raise them. I know the skin beneath the wrapping all too well, the hideous, unnatural flesh I've grown to despise. I grip the edge of the badges. Stop. With a weary sigh, the man slides off the beam and lands with a thud that shakes the panels underfoot. He's a monster, with an imposing figure that towers over me. I couldn't tell how tall he was before, but he's big. Illuminated by lantern light, his features are stronger, sharper. Little clinks of metal accompany each of his footprints. The closer he gets, the faster my heart hitches. What does he want? Is he going to kill me? I step backwards. and find nothing to set my foot on. I'd forgotten my back was to the sea spring. I fall right before a warm hand catches my lower back. I'm hovering above the sea spring, the scent of smoke and leather enveloping me. Blazing crimson eyes bore into mine. Told you to watch your step. Too stunned to muster a response. Like I weigh nothing, he guides me back to solid ground and steps back. Following a subtle gesture from his fingers, the souls around us disperse and relax. The shift in their demeanor is so abrupt it gives me whiplash. The enormous tentacles are no longer in the rafters, though now I doubt I ever saw them at all. Either way, I exhale a breath of relief. Thanks. As focused on me as he was before, the monster pays no attention to me now. He kicks some seating pillows out of walkways, checks the contents of the kettle with a scowl. The sudden disregard is almost insulting. So, that's it? I'm not a threat anymore? Never were one. Then why'd you threaten me? People get honest when they're afraid. In other words, he was messing with me. I drag a hand over my face, exhausted by the fact that this is the second time a monster has provoked me today. You're Aes, aren't you? Depends who's asking. One of your friends told me this was your territory. She also said you were a gang leader, but there was no one else here. I thought there'd be more people. Ace picks up the kettle and walks to the edge of the sea spring and dumps out the contents into the endless red. Gang took a walk. His pleasant smile stretches his face ear to ear. Then in an instant it drops and it gets tense. I shouldn't ask about his gang again. Something must have happened. I've learned to recognize a real leader when I see one. Ace regrettably fits the type perfectly. He knows how to scare people, and he expects submission. But it's uncommon for someone so used to being in power to be so alone. What did you need the sea spring's power for? Depends. Can it cure a curse? Probably. You mean you don't know? Nope. He shakes out the empty kettle and starts collecting stray cups, tidying up. My frustration builds. I narrow my eyes at him in questioning glare. When he notices, he returns it with an amused spark. Are you being irritating on purpose? Listen, Sparrow. The sea spring can cure anything. Nothing's stopping you from trying it yourself. What do I have to do? Drink. I have to drink from the sea spring? My eyes glide to the blood-like pool beside us. The idea of ingesting the strange liquid makes my guts churn. Is there a price? Always. Ace taps his temple with a finger. You lose it a little bit. That's it? I've already beat it to the punch. My humor earns me an amused, fanged grin. This is a little different. When you drink from the sea spring, you forget who you are. Your mind combines with everyone who ever drank it before. Humans, monsters, soulless. One big, happy family in your head. My blood runs cold. I've heard of these before. Group minds. I thought they were just rumors. I've heard whispers of cults performing rituals to bind their members' minds together. It never seemed possible. Something tells me this is real. Even if one thing doesn't add up. Your eyes are red too, but you obviously haven't forgotten who you are. Before I can finish my sentence, Ace strides past me towards the entrance. Time's up. Let's finish this later. Wait, already? You barely told me anything. Come on. Came on a bad day. I've got somewhere to be. There's still so many questions burning on the tip of my tongue, but my frustration spills out before any of them. I was told to come here for help, but instead I'd get threatened and kicked out. You're joking, right? Watch your tone. I'm nice. But you don't want to ruin the host's mood. My skin prickles. The feeling of being watched washes over me again. My eyes dart back to the sea spring. A lone ripple dances on a quiet surface. I take Ace's advice and clamp my mouth shut. Ace approaches a nearby soulless, a lanky dog-like one with 6 legs and a crown of tendrils. Several set of crimson eyes adorn its sides. Its forked tail wags rapidly when Aya squats beside it. His hands run through the tendrils, scratching its chin and pats its head. A gentle smile plays across Aes's lips. The affection he holds for the soulless is painfully clear. I dip my eyes away, my stomach fluttering at the tender sight. It's getting dark out, so this pretty girl's gonna guide you back. Following a short whistle from Aes's lips, it trots over to the entrance obediently, tail swaying. I watch the soulless warily. Pretty is not a word I would use to describe it, but the idea of it protecting me sounds absurd. If I decide to drink, how should I find you? Find someone with eyes like mine. They'll point you in the right direction. But think it over. Once you drink, you can't go back. It's a lot to process, but I give a small nod. At least I know I have another option for a cure, as disturbing as it may be. I follow the soulless at a measured distance and watch it nudge the giant door with ease. When I'm about to cross the threshold, I sneak one glance behind me. My heart skips when I meet Aes's eyes when I'm about to snap my head away, but he just flashes me an easy smile. Next time, Sparrow, I'll buy you a drink for scaring you. I don't trust myself to do anything but respond with another curt nod. Outside, more crimson-eyed, soulless scuttle about. It's hard to believe that it's the same threatening pack from before. They chase each other in circles, roll around in bogs mud. They pay no attention to me as the dog-like one escorts me away. It's an uneventful trip. Sometimes the soulless look over its shoulder at me to make sure I'm still following. The art style's amazing. Dusk darkens the sky by the time we reach the city. The soulless sits and looks at me expectantly with the familiar crimson eyes. Pet the soulless. As nervous as I am, I carefully glide my fingers through the soulless's tendrils and scratch beneath its chin, just like Aes had. It pushes my palm in response, rumbling with a sound akin to a purr. The vibrations are soothing, almost healing my fatigue. When it's satisfied, the soulless spins around and scampers back in the direction we came, vanishing into the darkness. It's barely my first day in Iridia, and I've already encountered so many things I thought were impossible, tamed soulless being one of them. My head spins. Maybe I should call it a day. Maybe you should. Maybe you should. Nightfall creeps across the streets of Iridia. The city, labyrinthian even in the daytime, has become a warren of treacherous alleyways. The streets are completely deserted. If I hadn't been here earlier, I would have thought this part of the city was abandoned. I make my way through the winding streets, doing my best to keep my bearings toward the wet wick. I step slow when I hear a rustling in the dark. I strain my ears, but everything is still. In the silence, is the silence playing tricks on me? Something is probably wrong. The fine hairs on the back of my neck prickle. A frisson of discomfort running down my spine. Something's wrong. My eyes dart from one side of the street to the other, searching for movement, but the shadows are as deep and dark as pools of ink, and I see nothing. I can't stay here. I need to reach a busier part of the city. Drawing my cloak tighter, around my body, I hurry on my way. Though I keep my eyes sharp and listen intently, there's only one thing. There's only the sound of my footprints. As the moments pass and nothing happens, I begin to wonder if maybe I really did imagine that noise. I turn the next corner, my thoughts screaming to a halt. My head spins and the world blurred as adrenaline rushes through my veins. Only one thing is clear amidst the haze. The soulless that attacked me at the caravan. It's crouched over a dark, indistinct shape, a body. A garland of intestines spill from pallid flesh. Blood grouts the cobblestones. For a mercy, the soulless is too distracted by its meal to have noticed me. My feet feel as heavy as stones, but I can't just stand here. Holding my breath, I take steps backwards. When the wet, slurping sounds don't abate, I take another, and then another. Then a shard of glass crunches under my heel. The world seems to slow to a crawl as the soulless raises its head, blood dripping down from its tendrils. Every single one of its bulging eyes fix unblinkingly on me. It's really here. It's come back for me. Run. I'm off like a shot, running for my life through the darkened streets. Behind me, a piercing bass splits the silence, and heavy footfalls pound after me. My heart thunders in my chest. I take turns at random, trying to lose it in the maze of streets, but I can't seem to shake it. I can hear its breathing now, a wet, fluttering rasp growing closer and closer. The same claws that severed my arms swipe out. I duck, saved by pure reflex, and skid around a corner. I take 3 running strides before the bottom drops out of my stomach. A wall twice as high as me bars my way. A dead end. When I turn around, the soulless looms in the entry of the alleyway. It's no longer running. It doesn't have to. As it prowls closer, my thoughts race. Some of the buildings lining the streets are lit. There must be people inside. It's a long shot. I haven't screamed yet. Scream. Somebody help me! My voice rings through the shadowed streets, silhouettes pass by the windows, but nobody answers. It's in the wretched world of people will stick their neck out to help their own flesh and blood, never mind a stranger. The soulless, provoked by my shouting, gives a raspy hiss. It's the only warning I get before it lunges at me with a flash of claws. I hurl myself to the side, but the slick cobblestones betray me. I fall sprawling over the rough stone. As the soulless looms over me, I scramble away from it until my back hits the wall. There's nowhere left to go. It descends on me for the kill. But the impact never comes. I warily crack open one eye, and then the other. Not sure whether I should believe what I'm seeing. A hooded figure crouches in front of me, one blood-stained hand outreached. Moonlight shivers the edge of their stiletto knife. Their face and hands are splattered with blood and soulless. My eyes dart past my unexpected rescuer to the misshapen form behind them. The soulless's many eyes, now restless and vibrant. Once restless and vibrant, now dull and waxy. A red pool spreads slowly under its body. And with shock, can't help but stare. It's dead. After all the people it's killed, after nearly killing me twice, I can hardly believe it. Well, I gingerly take the offered hand. The stranger's gaze dips to my bandages. Pale lips part, on the brink of a question, then close again. With a strength belaying their slight frame, they pull me to my feet. As soon as I'm on my own 2 feet again, they pull away from me and start wiping the blood from their face and hands. Stay there. They turn away from me stiffly, leaning over the Soulless's gangly body. With their back towards me, I realize I saw their hooded silhouette at the Cenobium. You were at the Cenobium. I've seen you before. They cast a wary look at me. So what if I was? Their harsh response takes me aback. Before I can formulate a response, they continue. What are you thinking, traveling alone at night? This is far from the worst thing, hunting Lowtown. I can't make heads or tail of them. First they saved me, and now they scold me? Lesson learned. I can do without the lecture, though. To my surprise, they break eye contact. Their attention glides back to the Soulless's corpse. They examine it with an inscrutable expression. I clear my throat to fill the silence. I'm Mickey. Min. Suddenly, Min tenses. Their blade flashes as they drive it into the back of Soulless's neck. Soulless thrashes once, letting out a rattling hiss into the air. Letting out a rattling hiss as the air leaves its lungs. Min leans on the blade, driving it deeper and deeper until the sickening crunch, and the creature goes limp. My heart thuds in my chest. It must have been clinging to life by a thread. Min straightens up, withdrawing their blade in a single smooth motion. Better to put the wretched thing out of its misery. They calmly clean the blood from their knife. That swift, unhesitating lethal strike wasn't the work of an amateur. But they don't act like any cold-blooded killers I've seen in the past. Why is the Soulless inside the city? Min looks at me, eyes searching before realization dawns. You're new here. There's no walls around the city. Souls can come and go as they please, until someone is contracted to stop them. The Cenobium's patrols don't bother to protect Lowtown. Not anymore. Let me guess, you're not a fan of the Cenobium. I wouldn't go that far. Their brow abruptly furrows, and they sheath their knife, motioning me to follow them. It's not safe here. The vultures can smell death. I'm not quite sure what they mean, but I don't want to stay lost in the city. I trail behind them as I stride down the street. If it's so dangerous, then why are you helping me? You are making an unbearable racket. Next time you walk into a Soulless's claws, at least die quietly. Their answer is stingingly harsh. I just need to find my logic. I hold my hands up, trying to forestall any snippy comments. Alright, I get it. I'd love to get out of your way, but I'm sort of lost. I just need directions back to my lodges. What makes you think I'll help you? Nothing, but there's no harm in asking. It seems to catch them off guard. Their brow knits, and they look away scowling. How troublesome. Nikki? I turn, surprised by the voice. Kerr walks down the street towards us. His white and gold clothing is pristine, despite the grime of the city. Hello, Min. I see the Soulless was your work. Min shrugs. There was a familiarity in the way they regard each other. You know them? Min is a freelancer who has done a few errands for me. They're quite reliable. Reliable freelancers don't eat. There's something Curtis isn't saying here. Nikki needs to get back to wherever she's staying, before she wanders into the jaw of another Soulless. It is late. Were you able to find a place to stay, Nikki? Staying at the Wetwick. Both their faces fall. I see. Would you like a guide? It might be preferable to wandering about the ends. That would be nice. Min clicks her tongue and sighs, sounding mightily put out. Going to the Amaryllis district? That gaudy cesspit? Come, this way. Despite Min's clear distaste, Curtis leads me down the street. They keep pace with us. Catching my curious glances, Min's eyes narrow. It's not safe this late. I don't care about you, but Curtis is the only doctor with a damn in this place. Are you like this with everyone? The deadpan look Min gives is an answer enough. I catch Curtis hiding a slight smile. I suppress a sigh and resign myself to a grumpy shadow all the way back to the wet wick. The route Curtis takes is completely different from my slow meandering earlier this morning. In no time at all, he cuts through the darkened streets and twisting alleys. It seems like half the city is poured into the Amaryllis District with colorful streets, laughter, clinking glasses, and music assaulting my ears in every direction. Yet the most noise still comes from the wet wick, its doors hang wide open, lanterns lit. Here we are. He moves toward the door and Min lets out an audible huff. Don't tell me you're going in. I have some quick business with Leander. Fine, he still owes me for yesterday's work. They drag their feet, reluctantly trailing me into the tavern. As soon as the doors open, a wave of sticky heat rolls over me. In the hours since I left, the wick has grown suffocatingly crowded. Kurt stands out, at least a head taller than most. Even so, I nearly lose sight of him, amid the sea of swarming bodies. Pardon me. The crowd parts as though answering his request. Curtis glances over his shoulder at Min and me before gliding through. How could anyone breathe in here? Min follows Curtis at a clipped pace. Leander is right where I left him, although he's traded places with the bartender. He holds a pair of shot glasses filled to the brim with luminous green liquid. And now for the finishing touch. A flash of magic paints the glasses white with frost. You're never gonna guess what's in these. Leander slides the glasses across the bar, and I get my third and fourth shocks of the evening in rapid succession. Aes leans against the bar, an elbow propped on the counter. He catches the glass and lifts one to the light before turning it upside down. The contents magically congealed, staying firmly in its place. You're supposed to make drinks, pretty boy. Don't tell me you're wasted already. Veer, all of them are here. Perched on the bar's counter beside Aes, takes a single look at the shot glass and shakes his head. What have we here? A bucket of boogers, Leander's nose treasure. You've eaten worse. Veer's lips twitch and his ears flatten when Aes offers him a glass. He turns his cheek into a sniff, and Aes just snickers. Coward. Don't tell me you're actually... In one fluid motion, Aes throws his head back and down... throws back his head and downs the shot. Drinking that. A dark look crosses Aes's face. It's chewy. Chewy? Wait, let me try again. Behind me, Min grumbles. Told you this place was a nest of degenerates. If it isn't Curtis and Min... At the sound of Leander's voice, Min's pale eyes grow wide. They look ready to bolt until Curtis sets a hand on their shoulder. I promise this won't take long. Min's eyes dart from Curtis's hands to his face, then soften. Fine, you first. While they step forward, I linger behind, struck by a sudden realization. All of the people I've met today know each other. Good evening, Leander. Aes. Another drinking competition, I presume? Oh, it's the evening already? Could have sworn it was earlier. Just finished some friendly rivalry, Doctor. Nothing to be afraid of. Curtis acknowledges Leander, and Aes with the slightest nod, ignoring Veer entirely. Not that Veer seems to mind. He tilts his head, and an impish smile curves his lips when he spots Min moving silently behind Curtis. I almost didn't see you there, Min. Looking for your booster seat. Min pushes back their hood. They level Veer with a cool look. I thought Aes wasn't allowed to bring his pets in here. Veer's tail gives an angry twitch. At the first sign of impending flight, Leander vaults so clear over the counter, he slides in between Aes and Curtis. Now, let's try to keep the peace. It's not every day the esteemed doctor takes us up on a drink. His arm snakes around Curtis' shoulders. You're finally taking me up on that drink, right, Curtis? I'm afraid not. We're merely escorting Mickey back to her lodgings. Curtis gestures in my direction and my stomach sinks. I reluctantly step into the light. As soon as he sees me, Leander's face brightens. Mickey! It's been too long. Everyone, this is Mickey. She's new to Rydia. I feel 5 pairs of eyes fix onto me, and suddenly the bar feels suffocatingly small. My voice nearly catches in my throat. Hi, again. Hi everyone. Again. Again? Wait, you've already met everyone? Aes and Veer level with me with amused expressions. Veer's tail gives a lazy wag. We did. Not that long ago, either. I'm starting to suspect she's stalking me. He looks far too pleased with himself when I roll my eyes. They're all so hot! This calls for drinks. What does everyone want? In an instant, all eyes turn to Leander, freeing me from the burden of attention. I still can't believe they all know each other. Watching them talk amongst themselves feels surreal. But for the first time since I undertook the journey to Iridia, I feel a faint glimmer of hope. I know I was meant to meet them. The low, pleasant rumble of Leander's laughter pulls me from my restless thoughts. Well, color me impressed. You make friends fast, Mickey. I wouldn't go that far. We're more like acquaintances? A wise man once said that acquaintances are merely friends you haven't shared a drink with yet. A wise man? You said that. Here. Last week. I can hear Min's lip curl with distaste from across the bar. Leander clears his throat and continues unperturbed. Let's toast to Mickey's health. Care to join in, Doctor? Gerson politely declines with a wave of his hand. How about you, Min? No. Are you? No. A resounding pop pierces the din of the bar. We all turn in the direction of the noise. Veer looks almost bashful as he accepts the overflowing flute from the bartender. Pouring from a bottle so old its label's been worn blank. They serve champagne here? Since when? Veer pauses in the middle of the licking champagne foam from his fingers with a coy smile. You don't mind, do you? In a transformation as impressively as his magic trick, the concern on Leander's face vanishes. He laughs softly. No, be my guest. I know you've got expensive taste. Then shoots the bartender a frantic look. Unbothered or uninterested in his company, Aes cants his head at me, a light smile on his lips. How about you, Sparrow? I did say I bought you a drink earlier. No. My treat. Aes regards Leander over the lip of his glass in the dim light. The glint of his crimson eyes looks downright dangerous. I wish I could talk. What'll it be, Mickey? I'd take that drink. I'll take you up on that drink, as long as it's not one of those green shots. Do not knock them till you've tried them. They taste better than they look. Somehow I doubt that, but I hold my tongue long enough for Leander to go behind the bar. He's lying, isn't he? When I glance at Aes, he only shrugs. Like I said, they were chewy. Probably poisoned, too. He considers his own drink, a tumbler of amber-colored whiskey. Leander's tried to kill me dozens of times by now. It's always a gamble. Veer clicks his tongue in disapproval. When he finally looks my way, its half-lidded gaze softened by his third glass of champagne. Were I you, I wouldn't let Leander put anything in my mouth. He fans his fingers over his chest, voice dripping with fake reverence. The Wet Wick is one of the finest dining establishments in all Iridia. While you're here, you may as well partake signature watered-down drinks in the stale nut leather. He sweeps his hands toward the chipped ceramic bowl filled with spiny, speckled jerky that I can only assume is nut leather. What is this? What is it with food in the city? As abysmal as you might make it sound, this place is completely packed. It's not all that bad. Depending on the day, the food's edible. Aes takes a measured sip of his drink. Gotta stick around for the real attractions, though. Before I can ask what he means, Leander returns with the tumbler as he sets it in front of me. Uneven chunks of ice bob in a pool of reddish-purple alcohol. I eye the drink suspiciously. It's better not be another disgusting concoction of Leander's. Relax, it's just a local specialty, plum gin. Although if you're feeling more adventurous... Shake my head. Leander raps his knuckles against the bar until the group falls silent. Alright, everyone, let's toast. May Mickey's stay in Iridia be full of bright adventures and discoveries. Cheers. Leander, Aes, and Veer raise their glasses in unison. Min only crosses their arms. Mercurius watches with polite indifference. I tip my drink back. The plum gin is eye-wateringly strong. Despite a sharp medicinal edge, it goes down smooth. One sip softens the edges of my vision. The next fades the din of the crowded bar into a low, persistent murmur. I find myself unwinding from what feels like the first time in years. Aren't you the popular one, Mickey? I'm guessing you met Curris first. It would be more accurate to say that I found her. He saved my life. I merely performed my duty as a doctor. Although I must admit, I was confused when I woke up missing all my clothes. Leander makes a choked noise somewhere behind him inside. It's not what you think! Mickey was in a grave condition. I could hardly treat such injuries through tattered clothes. Silence follows the stretch uncomfortably long. I look away, unable to face Curtis's disappointment, and catch Veer snickering behind his hand. That's my cue to change the topic. Curtis isn't the only one who saved me today. Don't you listen? I didn't save you. We're simply there. That's Min for you. Leander reaches for Min, but they duck under his arm with practiced ease, without so much as looking his way. As reliable as they are moody. You're one to talk considering you neglected to warn her to stay off the streets at night. Oh, alright. I might have gotten a little distracted. Min's only response is a short breath. At any rate, I never got a chance to thank you, Min. Don't. The less soulless alive, the better. For a heartbeat, Min's eyes flick towards Aes and their lips twist. Aes is too busy nodding along to Veer's enthusiastic pantomime of stabbing to notice. Lost, no doubt, in an enthralling decision. I've had enough of this hellhole. Let's go. Min and Curtis share a brief look, then the doctor speaks up. Very well, but there's something I must discuss with Leander, if you'll excuse us, Mickey. But just like that, the three of them depart, leaving me alone to savor my gin in silence. Or so I think, until I hear so soft and low it's practically a purr. Lost your tour guide? I turn to find crimson and pink eyes trained on me. It's not lost on me that they chose the instant the others left to strike. Just my luck. I had to be abandoned with the two most irritating people I've met all day. Monsters or not, there's no telling what I'll do if either of them pushes me again. Don't tell me Leander already snuck off to get his knob slobbered out back. He's got business with Curtis and Min. 2-on-1 business? Isn't he lucky? I can't tell if it's the champagne or the company, but Veer has almost grown noticeably more relaxed. He sits with his chin propped on the back of his hand. His eyes twitch whenever a hiccup shakes his shoulders. Why are you so far away? Come join us. He pats the empty bar stool beside A.S., but I hesitate. The smile Varys wears is sweet and distinctly sly, and with drinks in the mix, I dread how he and A.S. will mess with me next. We don't bite. I'm not sure about that. Just hours ago, you tried to rob me, and you threatened me. Me? Steal? Surely you must be mistaken. Sure it was me? Yes, it was you. And then you had the gall to kick me out just so you could go drinking. He gives another one of his shrugs. I was lonely. A simpler answer than I expected, but I guess I can't fault him for that. Veer suddenly slumps forward, Gossamer's sleeves pulling where he rested his elbows to his knees. Aya sets a hand on Veer's waist, narrowly preventing him from tipping off the counter. How about we start fresh? Begin with proper introductions, get off on the right foot and whatnot. I'll start. My name's Veer, hunter extraordinaire. Veer's right hand flutters to his chest, then he bows his head. Flinching with his hair falls into his eyes. Aes doesn't say anything, but I suppose it's my turn now. It's Mickey. Veer considers me for a long time, his tail idly swaying behind him. Then he knocks back the rest of his champagne. It's a pleasure to formally meet you, Mickey. He says my name slowly and deliberately, savoring every syllable. A tingle jumps down my spine. I quickly turn my gaze away. Aya smirks at my reaction over the rim of his glass. Is something funny? Nope. I open my mouth and close it just as quickly. They want me to react, goading me into another ridiculous game. While their sharp, cat-like eyes keep me on edge, something about this tension is fun. It must be the gin. A flash of white over Aes' shoulder catches my eye. Across the bar, Curtis' heads for the door. I don't see Leander or Min, but it feels wrong to let him leave without saying goodbye. I'll be back. Veer hums and wags his finger at me as I leave. I slip through the crowd, careful not to touch anyone, but just as I'm nearing Curtis, I stagger, shoulder checked by a man with a neck thicker than both my thighs. He stares me down, nostrils flaring. Out of my way, shit stain. My words spill out of their own. You watch it! I regret them as they leave my mouth. That fucking chin. The roughneck wheels around, shoving a bloodhound out of the way so he can close in on me. What did you say? He shoves me backwards, sending me stumbling to the sticky floor. I'm fine, but my heart leaps into my throat when I see the roughneck bearing down on me. You try to start something here? The roughneck freezes, his fist cocked back. A group of bloodhounds, called by the commotion, circle him, sizing him up. For what feels like an agonizingly long moment, the roughneck looks at me, from me to the bloodhounds. Finally, he sniffs and spits on the floor next to me. The lob narrowly misses my cheek. Screw it, too many freaks in the circus tonight. Turns his back on me, and then comes face to face with Aes. A dangerous smile spreads across his face. You'll do. What happens next is a blur. Aes' fist crashes into the roughneck's jaw, causing an eruption of gasps, shouts, and even cheers around us. I scramble to my feet, right as the frantic crowd swarms around me, cutting off my sight of everything and everyone. Through the ruckus, I hear Leander shouting, Hey! Hey! Aes, take it outside! Ignore them, everyone. Look, drinks are on me! With those 4 words, the wick erupts into hoots and hollers. The ring around me disperses as bloodhounds and onlookers rush towards the bar. Through the thinning crowd, I catch glimpses of familiar faces. Aes vanishes out the back, dragging the roughneck behind him. Curtis lingers near the door, searching, I suspect, for any wounded before he departs. Min draws their hood up tight as they slip out the side door, while Veer leans over the counter and swipes a glass of wine from behind the bar. and Leander, seated at the opposite end of the bar, gestures dramatically and apologetically at the bartender. In the space of a heartbeat, I realize that there's no telling when or if I'll ever see them all again. Whoever I pursue may be the last person I get to speak to tonight. I follow Leander for the second time today. I find myself squeezing through a crowd to reach Leander. As soon as he sees me, his smile fades. Are you alright? I'm not used to someone looking at me with earnest concern. I've ridden through worse today. From the sound of it, you've had quite a day. How are you holding up? Could be better. Not bad considering I've been threatened, robbed, and come close to dying too many times to count. I should have known. Known not to let you out of my sight. How about next time you want to see the city, I come along? Maybe I can be your personal guide. You've already helped me more than enough. Leander signals for the bartender. I'm parched. Do you want anything? Have a drink. Something strong and simple. Adventurous, aren't you? Gonna have to keep an eye on you. Of course, you'll need to keep an eye on me. I've lost count of how many I've had. Deal. Once he's ordered, Leander turns back to me. Did you at least get to try any good food? I had these fried dough sticks from a vendor near here. As soon as I begin to describe the meal, his eyes brighten with recognition. The log lads from Wenstall. You got to try them with porridge? There's another stall about a block away with the rose-water rice flour cakes. Take one bite and you'll think you've been transported to the Hightown patisserie. Then BAM! You open your eyes and it's the same trash-lined street as always. When he laughs, his hair falls over his eyes. He shakes his head and pushes it back. I'll show you sometime. If you decided to stick around Lowtown, that is. The Iridia Leander describes is far different from the one I've experienced. But if you live anywhere long enough, I suppose it becomes home. It seems like I'll be here for a while. Maybe I'll take you up on that. Bartender returns with a pair of glasses and pushes them our way. Cheers. Leander clinks his glass against mine, and I take a deep sip of the malty dark ale, savoring its flavor. It was surprising finding out you all know each other. I didn't think Iridia would be so small. Do you know how many times I've tried to get them all in one place? It's impossible. Like trying to herd a bunch of soulless. I take it you know them well? Depends. Was there anyone you're curious about in particular? Do you and Curse work together? Occasionally. Did the mysterious competent doctor catch your eye? He seems like a good person. Though it's hard to believe anyone's a good person these days. That's Curse. He always works hard to serve the people of Lowtown. He's a miracle worker, even if his bedside manner could use some work. Do you think he might be able to cure my curse? Leander starts to speak, pauses to consider me for a moment first. Curse is good, but he's only a doctor. Besides, unless you're actively dying, he'll make you wait in line all day like everyone else. Aeus. So you're friends with Aeus? Have been for a while, but he's rarely in town. Where'd you run into him? The Sea Spring. Leander chokes on his drink and tosses violently into his fist before giving me a surprised look. You went all the way out there? How'd he treat you? He was intimidating. Intimidating, to be honest. Don't let it get to you. Aeus does well in Iridia because he knows how to scare people. He's a monster. You don't really think he's a threat? Not in the slightest. I like to think all of us as rivals who need to keep each other on our toes, you know? Don't you think being rivals with a monster is a bad idea? If he wanted to disembowel you, it would be easy. No, not that serious. Sure, Aeus likes to toe lines on purpose. But he's not such a bad guy when you get to know him. Leander sighs and takes a swig from his glass. Veer. What do you know about Veer? Leander shakes his head slowly, his expression grave. Veer, a living example of the Cenobians' cruelty. Most days they keep him on a short leash. I'm surprised you ran into him. So tell me, what do you make of him? I want to know more. He's mysterious, but not just because the Cenobian keeps him locked up. The way they treat him, it's just not right. Do you know why he's a prisoner? Nobody knows. He's been in prison for as long as anyone remembers, but whatever he did must have been awful considering the punishment. He's charming, but like any monster, he's dangerous. If you ever see him out hunting, you'll know what I mean. Leander swirls his glass, choosing his next words carefully. Don't fall for his looks. He'll rip your throat out for fun. Min. Min's interesting. Not very forthcoming, though. Min, my favorite grouchy freelancer. What's your impression of them? Seem lonely. I get the feeling they could use a friend. I think Min prefers to be alone. What makes you say that? I've known them since arriving to Iridia. They turned down every attempt I've made. Well, almost every attempt. He trails off and takes a deep swig of his drink. Anyway, I'm just saying, if Min wanted to be your friend, he'd know. That about covers it. Are you tired of standing? Let's find you somewhere to sit. Leander pushes away from the bar, beckoning me to follow him. He leads me to a small booth hidden in the nook of a bar. A pair of bloodhounds notice him and immediately leap to their feet, offering their seats to us. As I slide into the booth, a web of graffiti stretched into the booth's tabletop catches my eye. The deepest grooves form the outline of the dog from Leander's posters. Dozens of roughly etched names surround the drawing, some fresh, some well-worn. What is all this? It's a tradition. Whenever someone joins the Bloodhounds, they have a drink with us, and then they carve their initials. The barkeep must love that. After the first year, she finally stopped charging me extra for damages. 2 years and countless drinks later, she added her own name. You're not planning on recruiting me, are you? He quickly shakes his head. Not yet. You need time to think about your own path. Do you know what you're going to try next? The question gives me pause. I take my hands out from under the cloak and rest them on the table. Do you think you can help me? Of course. We can find answers together. Leander starts reaching for me, as though meaning to take my hand before stopping himself. His eyes flicker to mine. I won't fail you, Mickey. And if you ever need a taste of normalcy, I'll always be here for you. My chest tightens at the memory of touching him. Even now? Leander swallows. The table groans under his elbows as he leans forward. The booth is narrow, but he completely blocks my view of the bar counter. It's almost as though Leander and I are completely alone. If that's what you want. How did it make you feel? It was warm. Excited? I don't know how to describe it. Leander rests his hands on the table. He looks at me, smiling when I place my hand in his. Slowly, he begins to unwind the bandages, stopping every so often to glance at me. His face skin becomes visible. I cast a nervous glance about the bar, but as far as I can see, no one's paying us any attention. Leander squeezes my hand gently. No one will notice. He pulls back, raising his hand to his mouth so he can tug his glove off with his teeth. His muscles in his forearm tighten as he flexes his fingers. Our eyes meet and Leander offers his hand again. There you go. Hand holding on demand. A lump forms in my throat. I'm certain Leander sees it in my face, a flicker of desperation. His voice lowers to a whisper. Anything you want, Mickey. I touch his face.
Oh no, I feel like that was a bad... Can I go back?
That comes to mind. Can I touch your face?
Oh, sure.
I lean over the table and hesitate before reaching his face. When my fingers graze his jaw, Leander's laughs softly. That tickles. It's fine. You can just... He takes my wrist, angling my hand so I can press his cheek into my palm. Warmth spreads under my fingertips. A surprised breath escapes me. Gently, I run my thumb along the ridge of his scar on his cheek, and he shudders, his earring jingling against my knuckles. You're getting awfully bold. I've never touched someone like this before. And even though it makes my head spin, it's already not enough. I want to be even closer. My heart hammers, filling my ears with a pulse that grows unbearably loud until I pull my hand back. Are you alright? I can barely hear his words from the pounding heart, but I manage to nod. Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry, I just think I'm getting a little dizzy. He gives me a gentle smile, eyes crinkling at the edges. You've had a long day. You deserve some rest. Luckily, the room is just upstairs. Want me to walk you back? I shake my head and begin wrapping my hand. With each deep breath, my hair feels more clear. I'm fine, but thanks for, well, everything. Remember what I told you. If you ever need a break from the chaos of the city, I'm here for you. When I raise, Leander gives me one last smile. Good night, Mickey. Night. I trudge up the stairs, but even as I leave Leander behind, the warmth of his skin still lingers on mine, burning through the bandages.
Choose my fate. We're going with Leander.
Leander offers you something that should be impossible, a taste of normalcy for your curse. As the first person to withstand your touch, he could change your life, but some things are simply too good to be true. Leander promises to help unravel your curse, but at what cost? Alrighty. Thank you for playing. That's so cool. I can't wait for the full game of this to come out. It's so well crafted. The art is gorgeous. The men, even more gorgeous. Also, the audio design, impeccable. It's amazing. I can't wait for the rest of this to come out. Anyway, that was TOUCHSTARVED. It was great. I can't wait for the full game to inevitably come out. If you want me to go through other pathways, I will gladly do that after Love Week. We've got a bunch of games coming up this week. I'll have their links down in the description. Go show them some love, because they definitely deserve it. That game is gorgeous. But yeah, I've had so much fun, and we're going to continue to have a bunch of fun this week. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.